My laptop.
David is housekeeping. Awesome Jeff.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of Inside Scoop. We are starting a little different. We're not kicking off as animated as, well, I am, because it is a different type of episode today. We didn't have our live episode, on the day that we normally do, because of extenuating circumstances. There's a legend in our sport that is no longer with us today. And that is going to be the sole subject matter of our show today. So Jeff and I are here. Jeff just took a step out. I don't know where Jeff just went. When Jeff and I were talking about who, to have on to bring mention to honor the life and legacy of Sensei John Sharkey, even those that don't even use the term sensei in their martial arts school, still call him sensei. Isn't that interesting? But what I said, Jeremy Talbot is probably the one guy who I feel like is going to give us the best insight of things that we know and a bunch of things we don't know. So Jeremy, I'm really glad that you're here. I've always enjoyed our times together. You're a Class A guy. Fantastic. I actually wish we would be having you on in maybe different circumstances, but here we are. All right, someone's saying my mic is cutting in and out. Jeremy, you hear my mic cutting in and out?
Yeah, I can hear it. Sounds staticky, but I'm not sure if that's just me or not.
I think I can just switch this up. Hang on. So let's change this here. All right. How am I doing now, brother? You don't hear me? Okay, that's not good. All right. How am I doing now? Am I doing all right? Nope. All right. Jeff, do you hear me at all? Nope. All right, hang on a second.
How am I doing
now? Am I good now?
Now you look like a Chinese kung fu movie where I can see your lips move and the sound is coming in right afterwards. It's perfect for a martial arts thing.
Well, I mean, all right, we're gonna bring some lightheartedness to it.
All right, I'm better now. I can hear you, and you weren't.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You sounded like 1,000 miles an hour. So yeah.
Oh, how am I now?
Better.
Am I all right?
Yes.
All right, good. This is good. All right. Well, yes, it is a somber show because a legend in martial arts and in sport karate history is no longer with us today. And we didn't take a moment. We took a day of, I guess, martial arts silence for the passing of John Sharkey. And it was like, as soon as I got one text, I got like 40, all right? That were like, hey, did you hear the news? Hey, did you hear the news? Oh my gosh, did you hear this? And it was like, it didn't stop. Now, I'm not the insider, ironically enough. That's what the show is called. Like you would be, Jeremy. So I don't really know how to bridge this, all right? But I want to hear from you maybe a little bit more on, and I'll let you go in whatever direction you want. But I really want to know a little bit about like what your relationship was like with John Sharkey.
Ooh, let's see. How can you compact years, decades of someone's life into a few minutes is beyond me. But I started with Sensei Sharkey, and I love this story. Was my son and I just moved into our home, and he, at the time, I was teaching a Taekwondo school, and he was being a student there, and we wanted to find something a little bit closer. Back in the 80s, I used to compete against Sharkey students all the time. And they were the first ones that if you lost, they would still come up and like, lift your spirits up, say, hey, that was great. This was great. If you won, they would be the first ones that almost come up and say, hey, that was awesome. How did you pull this stunt, or how did you do this? So I always had that respect for the students. So when I saw that they were near us, I took my son in, sat down, and in perfect Sharkey fashion, he had his long sleeve t-shirt on, jeans, and a cup of coffee in his hand. Across the room, he sees some student messing up, and he goes, you little freak, what are you doing? Do that again. I know you can do better than that. That sucked. I just looked right at my son and said, we just found your new school. Because to me, that was old school training. That's what I was brought up on. That's what I wanted my son to be. And it was the best decision I made in my life. And I can't even begin to understand the impact that he had on me, not just as an instructor, but he was like a mentor. He was a father figure to me, and he was a friend. I literally got a lot of my how to be a father advice from him because he's raised a lot of kids.
Mhm.
And when we used to joke when we hear parents say, oh, it's Father's Day or something, and our parents would say, so what do you know about being a father? You don't have any kids. Like, he's got multiple kids. He has raised so many kids on his own, and just students. Karate was his wife, and the kids and the students were his kids, and he made sure he took care of every one of them to the best of his ability.
It's interesting you say it that way, because a lot of people in different areas of life, in sports and athletics, you see that quite often. Using this type of terminology and this verbiage. But I've heard stories of it. I don't really know. I've heard there's been a fair amount of people who have been maybe down on their luck, and he's like, well, the school is open. There's a shower. Come on in. Is there legitimacy to that, Jeremy? Tell me about it.
Yeah, there have been students that were exactly just that, like, be it rejected from their parents for whatever reason, or their parents are just assholes, or I'm sorry, don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here. But
it's on YouTube. We're good.
Okay, good. And they needed a place, and he was like, you know what, come here, stay here, we'll practice, we'll work something out. Even to myself, when I didn't start with him like signing up for lessons, I was just helping out in the back while my son took lessons. And he just came up to me and goes, why aren't you working out anymore? And I was like, well, I just don't have the money. That's why my son's going. He goes, you're helping us here. Get a uniform, get out on the floor. That's all he cared about. He didn't care about money. He cared about you training.
Right.
And
yes,
that is so I don't have the decades and decades of relationship with Sensei Sharkey like you do. Maybe got 1 decade, maybe one, and it was an interaction I had with him one time, and he was just talking business with me, and he goes, do you use this? Do you use this software? And I'm like, no. And he's like, listen, you got to be using this. And I'm like, and I probably made that exact sound. And he goes, listen, it has nothing to do with me. It's not like our schools are really that close where our students are competitors, but I just want everyone to do well. Let me show you what we do. I'm like, all right. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, he was very open to anyone.
Correct.
There was no competitors. As long as, hey, you have your students, they're looking at that with you. I have my students, they're looking at that with me. He never sat there and say, oh, you can't train with me because you belong to ABC school.
Right.
Oh, no. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. And you might have heard of it, Jeff, but if you're a martial artist, and just look, Sharkey's school is in Naperville, Illinois. If you're a pretty high level martial artist in the state of Illinois, at some point, you're going to find yourself at that school. All right. And think of the people that have come through there as students and also just as martial artists. Right. still not just like as history, like I remember way back, like today even. And so it's so interesting that, you know, you talk about like who's come through there. Obviously there's champions like Micah Carnes, Mike Chat, all right? I mean, everybody, like
Greg
all the ones,
Henderson, yes.
even till right now. And then talk about Team AKA. I actually don't know how Team AKA started, but I've got a pretty good feeling you do know, Jeremy.
I could tell you, I know first it was Team SES at one point, and I forgot honestly how Team AK came about, but he wanted to put together a team to definitely represent AKA, and not only that, the AKA Grands. So kind of kept that in the forefront of the AKA Grands.
Sure.
But, and he told everyone off bat, it's like, listen, you know, if we can, we'll help you out with tournaments here and there, paying and stuff. But honestly, this is not a paid team. Right. It's a team that if you want to be on it, be on it. We'll train with you. We'll do everything we can to put you up to the level that you want to be at. And he loved training the nobodies, if you will, the people who weren't like world champions. He liked the people who weren't world champions, because if you're a world champion, what can he really offer you? That's what he would always say. I can't offer you anything. You're already at the top of your game. It's the people that are down here who are struggling, who want to get up there. Those are the people he focused on.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And there's so many people who got their start with Team AKA or even Team Sharkey, you know, and so it's very just impactful. And, you know, so for me, I guess when I started the NASCAR circuit, it was 94. I'd already known, you know, about John Sharkey and his students, and seen him in the magazines and heard about his, you know, the legacy already, as coming from John Valera. You know, that was my coach. So Mike Chat was, you know, the guy, the guy from Sharky's, and just seeing the next generation of, you know, Matt Mullins, and then you got Craig Hennies, and then you have other ones along the way. And like, there's so many champions, not just champions, but people who have made it into the stunt industry. One of the biggest things that I enjoy, and that really just shows me, and I think to everyone, the impact of how much he cared, was when he would be the person that would drive you to California, you know, like how many trips did he take there, you know, taking people to there to start their stunt career. It's crazy.
Wait, I didn't know this. Say that again.
Right.
He would drive people, like when they were ready to go out to Hollywood and they had a place to stay, he would literally drive them there from the school.
Yep.
You know, pack them up, straight drive, not even stopping over. I'm straight drive to California.
Yeah.
He's done
and I think
several times.
Salif was the last one, I think,
Yep.
that he did a couple of years ago.
Drove them?
Yeah.
Drove them. He wanted to make sure they got there okay. He wanted to make sure they got settled in. He stayed there for a couple of days, make sure everything was good to go, then came home.
Right.
Just like that.
And the thing is, this isn't just people that were in Chicago, you know, in the Illinois area. There were people that were a part of his team that did not live in that area.
Right.
That they flew to Illinois and then drove with him there, because it was such an impactful thing in a moment. And so it's pretty cool.
I got a small story similar to that. I see Rasha joined in. Rasha's been to the school as well. Good to see you, Rasha. There was a family that had just moved from, I might get it wrong, but I'm going to say Guatemala. I think I might be right. And two like young, like not like about preteen kids. Now, this is a promise. So when I asked them, I'm like, well, what made you choose Illinois? And they were like, the John Sharkey school. And they looked and they like turned their head. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, when you moved to like America, like what made you, why Illinois? Just make a conversation. And they were like, John Sharkey school. Like they looked at me like I had two heads. And I'm like, no, time out. What are you saying right now? Are you saying you could have gone to the 50 states and you chose Illinois? And they're like, yes, our children love martial arts. We knew him. We want to go there. That's why we did it. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. All right. That's amazing. Right. So that was really cool.
Yeah, Brett, it's definitely, you're right. Brett says, let's be honest, he is one of the very few instructors that's had students that won on multiple circuits over multiple decades. I can't call a generation or recall a generation where he and his students weren't at the top of the game.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is we talked about some of the huge names when we said you listed it off like perfectly, Jeff, when you get Chat, Mullins, Henningsen.
Belcher.
You hit those three like that. If you go bang, 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 you're a legend right there.
Yeah.
If you stopped there, you're a legend already, right? But I think what Brett's saying is right. That's the part that's so uncanny. It's like there's never a lull where it's like, well, and I have to regroup now. There's just never a regroup with that. Right?
And the other thing is, every year when we're at Warrior Cup, you see those people come back to support and to help Sensei, and even this weekend when, they knew it was going to be rough, but they had to be there for him, for Hunter, for AKA, for everything. So that to me just shows just the impact of an instructor, of a Sensei, and how much, he meant to them.
Really a good way to gauge it, even before that, is last month it was really rough, where we were told okay, this was definitely the time it was going to happen. We had people literally fly in last minute from all over the world. We had people who were on movie sets who had, hey, I got to go, and they would fly in. We were at Edwards Hospital, and they have a little waiting room in the ICU for people. There was nothing but our people in there. There was no other room. So much so that people were flooding out into the hallways. And nurses were sitting there telling us they've never met a person or had a person there that had that many visitors since their whole careers. That's the impact he had. And this wasn't just students. This was people who he touched lives with,
right?
And to see that is powerful.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's I understand that this is a real dynamic, and so if it's a moment, please, if you got it, Jeremy, if at any point if you got to go, hey, I'm gonna step out.
Yeah,
we get it. All right,
my best.
All right, well, I definitely appreciate you. Yeah. So
yes,
when you, I think he is. Let's talk about him as a person as well.
Right.
He is an interesting personality.
Yes.
I mean, the way you described when he was talking to a student, because I've seen him have conversations like that before.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, you can't say that, right? You can't say that, right? But I've never trained multiple world champions like that. So while I think I'm right, I always think I'm right, right? While I think I'm right, I've never done that, right? But he does. He has such an interesting personality, and
a lot of that comes. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, a lot of that comes from the people know his heart. The people he talks like that to, they know him. So he'll sit there. I mean, he'll say, "Come on, you dumb broad, hurry up and get this thing done." And and he does it in a joke. And these people are like, "Okay." Trust me, there were a time when I first met him, I was like, how the hell is he getting away with this? I would be knocked out on my ass by it if I said something like that to him.
Great.
And and people just loved him, but they knew his heart. They knew it was all out of love. Correct. Everyone knew it.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember as a kid, just always just laughing just all the time at just the comments he would say. And yeah, I mean, it was just, you just never knew what was going to happen.
Oh, he would do things like that just to make us feel uncomfortable. Say, like, if he knew it was making you feel uncomfortable, he would push it just to see you squirm more, knowing that.
Yes.
You notice how we're all dancing? We can all think of three things the front of our head, and we're like, I can't say that. There's one that's in the front of my mind. I'm like, I ain't gonna say that. Right. But I remember, Jeremy, just like what you said, he saw my face when he said something like that, and he goes, listen, I can say that to him because, and then he talked about their relationship, and I'm like, oh, all right, I guess. I still ain't gonna do it, right?
Oh, yeah. No, he would
But
never expect anyone else to say, but yeah, he had that love, so he was good to go.
But
Yeah.
isn't it interesting? You take a guy who normally, like, the world, if you looked at him and you would say to these people, you would be like, that guy has made more martial arts champions than anyone you'll ever meet in your life. And then we go, that little guy? That little guy? Him? And you're like, yeah, because his physical stature isn't huge and he's not just this walking enigma, right? Because he kind of, even when we're talking about the AKA Grand Nationals, now Warrior Cup, he wasn't all over the place like Hunter, all right? Who's just, he's stationary because he's a fantastic leader and delegator.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because he's got you, Jeremy. He's got you running all over.
I get more steps in a Warrior Cup in those 2 days than I probably do throughout the rest of the year.
Right?
No, he was smart. He knew, like for myself, he trained me how to be a coordinator and how to run tournaments, stuff like that. So once he knew he was comfortable, he's like, okay, boom. Okay. He had his faith in everyone. The people who helped set up Warrior Cup, he had the faith knowing, okay, they know exactly what they're doing. I'm not going to bother. If I have something, I'll ask them. If not, I'm not going to bother with them. Let them do their job. He'll do his. He was really good at that. But he also had the vision. He saw the big picture. He saw everything. It wasn't just, okay, I'm just going to let this go and go about my merry way. He was on everything that was going on. Even behind the scenes of Warrior Cup. Hey, what's going on with this ring? What's going on with that ring? I mean, he was on everything.
Yeah, I've always noticed that from as a kid and as a teenager. I knew him, of course, for years before, but I really got to know him more in the NBL circuit. When AKA Warrior Cup was an NBL tournament for about 5 to 6 years, and really got to know him, his students, and also just see, like you said, just the way that he knew how to delegate, but he was also knew everything on what's going on. And then being able to see that continue to grow. And honestly, I'd say the Warrior Cup now is bigger than it's ever been, more prestigious than it's ever been, more of a big deal to win than it's ever been. And again, like this weekend was, again, like, congrats. I mean, it's a big thing for him, but also everyone that was involved. Like, it was a very tough event, but when you watch that finals, it was just fantastic. That's what our sport needs to be, and it was just the huge honor and tribute to him the whole time, but it wasn't too much. You know what I mean? It was fantastic. So, that's what he is going to continue. Like, that's just one part of his legacy. You know what I mean? That's what's crazy about Sensei Sharkey is that there's how awesome all of his students have become outside of martial arts in the stunt world and acting.
Right.
The other people that have taught world champions, all the world champions, and then of course the relationships, right?
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. Was how you said it. They did a nice tribute to Sensei Sharkey throughout, but not overboard, which is fine because he was never one to be in the spotlight. He never wanted to be in the spotlight. It was all about the competitors. People would sit there and, they complain sometimes that every time we do the nighttime shows that we're talking about our students who are out there who made it big. It's because he's promoting the competitors, the students. He didn't care about himself in that aspect.
Correct.
He liked being in the shadows.
That's so true.
Brett, you're right on. Look at that. Who else can get us to come to Chicago in the third week of January? We're all willing to risk horrible weather just to be there. Yeah, you can't say you're wrong. You know what else I find interesting is I think back, when you have something like this it's tragic, also to some like traumatic, all right? And then you leave feeling like, how do you fill that void? The only thing I can think of that's to this like level, and there's the irony, is Ken Eubanks.
Right. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
So
Like
But
this,
the
for me,
irony,
this passing feels very similar, like the same way I feel. It's like, whoa, we just lost.
well, I think it's
And
a little bit bigger.
yeah,
And
oh, well, yeah, yeah.
I love me some Ken Eubanks, right? And the irony is he took over the Bluegrass Nationals.
Right, right,
Right?
Yep.
Right. At one point, AKA was in Louisville in June.
right.
And then I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just like, how this is just chaos trying to run a tournament, on the other side of the country. I can't do that. Chicago's a world-class city anyway. We'll just do that, which is, I don't know if that was the reason why. But anyway, the point is they ended up back in Chicago, which was the right thing to do anyway. But I just feel like it's crazy to think about the similarities. And then now we still have the Warrior Cup.
He stepped in on that to help Ken Eubanks. He wanted that, he wanted to do his best to keep Ken Eubanks' memory alive as well. Ken Eubanks and him were really good friends.
Correct.
And that's why he's like, you know what, we'll push there, we'll combine and we'll get this going. And yeah, we were down there. Something about being in the most extreme weathers in those part of states. Kentucky in June, Chicago in January. I guess he just likes to push everyone to the extreme.
That's definitely true. Definitely true.
I think of the two, though, you'd take Kentucky in June.
better than Chicago in January. Yeah, I'd have to admit that.
but again, this is why I don't know that many that didn't still go, knowing that we were going to get stuck there for an extra day, 2 days. Some people are still there now, right?
What?
And yeah, and I know that some people, like I had people asking me, and they're like, "Well, are you still going to go?" Yeah, that's 5 days from now. I'll deal with that later, right? But yeah, we want to be there. It's just nothing like the Warrior Cup, and especially it's the best way to kick off the season in NASCA. And that's someone who's been in this since the early '90s, and I remember different tournaments being the first tournament. It wasn't until later on that this was the first tournament. And to me, there's nothing like this tournament being the one to kick off the season.
It is by far of every martial arts competitive season that I've ever been around or at least known about. There's never been a kickoff tournament like Warrior Cup. It's the best.
Agreed.
I like what AP put in here. He says, still have his voice message on my phone.
Yeah.
I mean, you might want to back that up. Put that on a drive just in case something. Right. I think about that, and I'm like, that's forever, right? I have something like that from my father-in-law, my late father-in-law. He did a podcast with a buddy of mine, and my wife's family have been kind of pestering him, like, you got to do this. You got so much knowledge on this. You got to make sure you go ahead and do that. And he was, there's better people than me. And we're all like, no, it's you. And he finally did it. And now it's there forever. And so, but just something like that, like, listen, we'd love to hear, guys, chime in with stories. If you guys have got, like little nuggets like that, Ronald Brady's chiming in now. He was such a great friend. AP's chiming in, right? So two of his best promoters. Love that. So, but we also, if you listen to this show more than twice, we like to bring a little lighthearted humor to it as well sometimes. All right. We're not trying to, bring like humor to it so much, but he was a fun guy as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes
he would not want to be looked at and pitied or everyone be down. He would be cracking jokes just as much as we are. We at one point, one of the students' parents come in and asked him how he was doing. This was again when we thought the first time it might be the last time, and he just looked at us and said, "It is what it is." And then he did not sit there like, "Oh, why me?" or he never even thought that. He accepted what life was and he just rolled with it. It's like, okay, this is what's happening. Let's figure out how to get through it.
Right.
And he did.
Yeah.
He already defied it once. Doctors are saying before, it's like, oh yeah, you're done. And him being the stubborn old guy that he is, like, nah, I got Warrior Cup. I gotta wait.
Yep.
And he did.
Yep. And he did. That's I mean, it's really crazy to even think about, right? That it's just, I was talking to so many different people and AKA students and past AKA, members, and they were talking about being on the phone with him and over that weekend and just talking to him and how he was just cracking jokes and stuff with them and just still being him,
Right.
So, I mean, you just got to love that. All right. Well, before we got on, Jeremy, you had talked about really the impact he had, and maybe who else is there that's really had the impact on sport martial arts like him, and you were breaking down some of that. So let's just talk about that, just the impact of him, his students, and in so many different ways.
Well, I'm not even sure where to begin. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, he was a competitor himself.
Yes.
He actually pissed off a lot of people when he did a somersault in a form one time.
Correct.
And this was back in the days when that, it was all tradition. So that already showed you that he was already like, hey, let's break this up. Let's make it different. Oh, man, I would have one of my biggest things I always enjoyed was just traveling with him. And I would say something and it would just bring right into a story of the old school and old days and these old tournaments. And he started teaching me why we had 3 people up and 3 people down before we did scoring, and the whole reason behind that and why it was antiquated today. And I was like, well, why? I was like, well, back then you had scores that were like 000 to 9.9, and if you got anything past a 5, you were considered cool. So that's where that whole thing came in with the 3 up, 3 down. Right. Now everything is arranged. Like, here's your point. Here are your points that you're going to be scoring with. There's no reason to do that. So it's just really interesting how he had that knowledge and to learn that. And I was like, wow, it was just so cool for sure. And he wanted to push martial arts past just the traditional. Traditional is what we do naturally, but he wanted to push it to say, hey, we've got these XMA people coming in. We've got this. This is where it's going. Let's get this going. Let's get these divisions out there to where they can compete and show off their skills. Correct. And that's what he kept doing, kept pushing for.
Yeah. And as someone who's been pushing for new divisions and stuff for the past 3-4 years with the Korean Challenge and the Korean divisions, Warrior Cup has been one of the best tournaments for that over the past few years. And even this weekend was amazing to see some of those divisions that were brand new having to even be split because there was so much support for those. And, Warrior Cup and Sharkey and always willing and wanting to add that, to it, to just give. He also, man, there's so many things to talk about. It's kind of hard because he's done so much, right? But when we're talking about Sideswipe, right, and all the tours that he took those students on all over the world, and teaching them not just how to be great martial artists or competitors, but how to be performers.
Performers.
And some people that weren't even technically on AKA, he had brought them on to be a part of those tours.
Oh yeah, he was never like, hey, if you're not AKA, you're not with us. He was open to anyone. If you had talent and you wanted to work, you wanted to get somewhere, you came to him for help, his door was open. He was open to anyone. He didn't care. Didn't matter race, didn't matter sexual orientation, didn't matter what school you came from. If you want to train, that's where you go to train, and he'll train you. No questions asked.
Correct.
So, what I just find so interesting is that, and maybe, I don't know, Jeremy, you get to tell me, it just didn't seem like that many people really didn't. Can't really remember a lot of people who just don't like him, right? But maybe that's me. But I think about it Jeremy, I've said it to you, but I'm gonna say it to you right now. I've always loved our relationship with each other. I've just you're a fantastic guy, right?
Yeah.
Your school, Baekwon Cook, I loved that location. Loved that, right? But you got handcuffed and you were like, hey, they just took my building completely out. Boom, it's out here. And Sharkey was like, come right over, right? You guys weren't geographically that far apart from each other. You're relatively close.
Yeah, before
no animosity whatsoever.
No. See, understand this. Of course, me being a student, and there was a lot of flack I got when people heard that I was getting my own school. Like I don't know how the rumor started, but where I broke away from Sharky, like we had some sort of issue, and it's like no, I literally went up to him, it's like, sir, is it okay if I open my own school? And first thing is like, dude, that's what you've always wanted to do. Of course it's okay. When I looked for my locations, I was like, sir, it's going to be here, and I told him it's about this much away from your school, and I think it's going to draw the logistics of the demographics over here. Are you okay? He's like, yeah, that's fine. That's not competing with us. And even after that, it's like if someone came to me and didn't want to be at my school, first thing I say, oh, tell you what, you're closer to Sharky's. Why don't you go there?
Yeah.
And when my school did get closed down because of Costco deciding to buy up the whole lot, first thing, all of my students went there. First thing I told him was like, this is where we're going if you want to stay in martial arts, and he was like, okay, good. Now we got some more students. He was happy about, he didn't care where they came from. He was just happy they're training.
Yeah, that's kind of like it's a silver lining, maybe is the right way to say it, because listen, I'm being very sincere, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved your location. I thought that was such a fun place and spot. And at the same time, when Costco just decides, no, I'm not just buying the building, I'm gonna buy the whole freaking thing. They're like, well, there's nothing you can freaking do, right? Yeah. This is completely, you could be like, I'll double the rent. I'm like, no, we got Costco. Sorry, right?
Yeah.
So what can you do, right? So I just, your guys' relationship, I've always seen from afar, and we're like, there's something to this, right? Yeah. So he somehow, what I don't get, Jeremy, maybe tell me why. So people always used to tell me that like he was a fantastic competitor, he was a great fighter. I've never seen him fight, but I always heard stories of this, right? But I think what people would know him for most is how he's coached and developed high-level forms athletes, and as we've made mention to, guys that have made it in film. Mm-hmm. But why is it that so many top-level fighters want to go and create like a gathering at his school as well? Is it just me, or does that seem kind of nutty to me? I'm like, but it just still keeps happening, even to this day.
People, it's funny. People always call. Well, I won't say the term that they would call a lot of us at Sharky's, but let's just say that we're known for katas and that's it.
Right.
But
got you.
Think about the fighters who actually came from our Chris Huberts, Craig Henningsen, right. Chris Brewster. There were Matt Mullins. There were people. We had fighters.
Mullins was a fighter.
Good. Yeah, Mullins was. Yeah.
Juan Hernandez. We have a list of fighters, but we also knew that, and he would say too, it's like fighting's great, but if these people want to go into the entertainment business, fighting's not going to get them there. But right. He would work with whoever. Someone wanted to learn fighting, and he didn't have and he couldn't personally teach them the way he wanted to. He'll make sure that he had someone over there who would.
Mm-hmm.
He made sure he took Mike Chat to a different school so he could learn some wushu to get better in what he wanted to do. He was never about ego. This was like Mike Chat. I'll have to forget the actual background story, but I believe it was he needed to learn a wushu form, or he wanted to learn some wushu or whatever. But
yeah,
Sensei Sharkey goes, okay, I know of a school to take you to, and he took him to there.
Correct.
That's the type of person he was.
Yeah.
So obviously in Chat's performances, you saw those techniques in his performances, mm-hmm. which I didn't think that he actually went to school. I just thought that, wow, this guy's a really creative martial arts athlete, that he's able to just see that and pull from this thing and that thing, which I thought, wow, that's really cool and creative. No, he went to a wushu school.
Yeah, there were several.
And Sharkey took him there.
Right.
Yeah,
there were several
to help him learn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that learn. You look at Brendan Hure. Brendan Hure has obviously, a huge background.
Well,
he's also a Taekwondo background too. Brendan Hure.
Exactly. So yeah,
Brendan Hure is very good.
Yeah.
Brendan Hure is maybe one of the more well-rounded martial arts athletes at that time. Like
correct.
Everything.
Yeah.
Like, he could kind of do everything.
Yep.
Yeah, we're talking about some fighters too. Colin, great
Colin O'Brien
fighter.
is definitely
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
And Matt Bowles was a great continuous fighter. I used to
Yep.
love watching him fight continuous, man. And yeah, so many. Like you said, Chris Huberts was a great continuous fighter as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's wild just to like we could probably just sit here and name off so many different names. I mean, we could probably make a game out of it. You know what I mean? Of like how many people have been a part of Sharky's, have been, part of AKA. What was it? A couple years ago, I guess, where it was the celebration, the anniversary of school, and there were so many, hundreds of black belts there, and it was just wild to see all the different people, that showed up for that.
Yeah, the dedication of his black belts is, it's hard to describe. We had a black belt test a couple years ago, and we have people coming in again from all over the country just for that particular test, just to bring in the new black belts. We don't hold it every year or every every 4 or 5 years we'll have another black belt test, and these people will fly in for it. And
Wow.
I mean, I could show you pictures where it's not in 5 or 6, but literally like 20 to 30 black belts. They're just to test 8 or 9 black belts to bring them up into the new world.
Correct.
That's the dedication his students had.
Yeah.
Every martial arts school has got an interesting tradition. Once you make black belt, we do this.
Right.
And some people are like, wait, when you make black belt here, you got to fight everybody in the room, something like that. Or I think, what did we see? There was like this video that I saw where like they're just whipping you with black belts and whipping you with belts.
Right.
And I'm like, that sucks. Right.
Yeah, I remember seeing something like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything like that?
Let me just, how can I say, our black belt test,
Sounds like yes.
the only thing that I went through that was worse than a black belt test was basic training.
Wow.
Because our black belts wouldn't sit there and like beat on you or anything like that, but they were right on you. They would get into your head, and that was our game. We wanted to get in your head. Do you really want this? Let's find out. And it's a tough test. Yeah, yeah, again, the best, hardest black belt test.
Hang on, I just learned something. I didn't know you are retired military.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I
For
had
quite
no
some
idea.
time.
What branch?
I was Air Force. And yes, I actually got into stuff. I didn't sit in a chair. I wasn't a chair force.
Wow. All right.
But
awesome.
Level
when
of
we-
respect, leveled up. That's so cool.
But yeah, it's those black, I mean, they're right on you. You would, if you saw any of those films where you have a boot sitting there and all the drill instructors are right around just yelling right in their ears, that's what it was like. I mean, I took my Sharkey black belt tests when I was in my late 30s or 40s, and I was like, oh my God, if I die or if I fail, I'm never taking this test again. This is God saying I'm not ever going to be a black belt again. It was the hardest thing I've gone through. And ever since then, it's like, there's nothing else that compares, and I can get through anything in my life at this point.
Well, that is a real thing. I do remember thinking about that at a black belt exam one time. And I'm like, you know, when you're in, like, some people, it's just a class, but you're in like a black belt class, exam, test, and you start to like, the whole room starts to like get shifty and weird, and you see spots, and you're like, I might fail. And you're like, I don't want to have to do this ever again.
Correct.
Right? So I better not fail.
That's right.
Well, no,
Oh,
were
man.
you saying, Jeff, your black belt tests are like, they're like 6 weeks long or something?
Not that long. No. But yeah, they definitely, they start Friday, they end Saturday. So yeah. So yeah, and you know, everyone, I think as instructors, we want to create something that is going to be meaningful for students, you know, and people from the outside look at it as you're just being mean or you're being too old school. But the truth is, every person that's made it through those tests, like, will never forget it, you know. And because they also got to realize, we're not just having you do all this stuff. We're right there with you. You know, I could have stayed home all day or, you know, had another weekend, but no, we chose to make this a big deal, not just an hour, like a presentation, like we wanted it to be something memorable for you. And to me, Sensei Sharkey was always that type of sensei person. Everything he did, he wanted to make it something memorable.
Yeah.
Right.
In our black belt test, he was your best friend. All the other black, we were, as the students, we were trying to break everyone down, but he was the one who would say, hey, nah, this, he was the one saving the new up and comings from the rest of us jumping on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Do you got any stories or something that you'd like to share? And it could be impact that he made on you, maybe the biggest lessons you've learned from him.
Oh, geez. Well, yeah, I actually posted this on my Facebook yesterday, but one of the things I asked him about, this was, I was going to go to one of the Maya conventions.
Mm-hmm.
And I always ask him, how come you don't do a seminar about how to train champions? How to get where they're going. He just looked at me because it'd be the shortest seminar ever. It would be me going up there saying, just show them you care and it's not about you. And then I just walk away. That would be his whole seminar. He's like, and that's all it is about. It's not about the instructor. It's about the student. As long as that student knows you care, they will always push themselves knowing that you care. As long as you don't make it about you, then they're always going to keep going. And that's one of the coolest things I thought I ever heard. I think the coolest stories that I heard was way back when Ed Parker and Remy Priestess were fighting. I forgot what the issue was, but they just had this bad blood.
Oh.
Sensei Sharkey had got them together by tricking Ed Parker to come with them to they just got through doing a seminar to come to him to a Tabanaki restaurant. Remy Priestess was there. They walked in, Ed Parker told, and this is what Sensei said, Ed Parker looked at him and goes, only you. Only reason I'm here is going to be you. So they sat down, and because of that, they started talking, and he got them talking to me, and they got that friendship kindled again. And that's when, one of the things that the American Kempo started doing was the Arnis, and that's where it was coming from, was because he started connecting with the Remy Priestess. So It was because of Sensei Sharkey that those guys got together, and that's one of the systems that start doing the Arnis.
Wow.
He would tell me he had a story where Remy Priestess did a seminar, goes out to Moments where Sensei's place was. Sensei gets home, sees that his windows kicked open. Remy Priestess, that was locked. He just went in through the window, grabbed himself something to drink, and just hung out there until Sensei got home. That's how close they were. I mean, and to know that he was with people that other people are starstruck with, and he's just like, oh yeah, he came out, he teaches me some Arnis, and I teach him some, and we just kind of hang out there, and then that's about it. And like it's no big deal. Where I would be, what they call a fanboying, like, are you kidding? That's Remy Priestess.
Well, and he didn't even do Kempo, right? Or am I?
Who, Sensei? No, he didn't do Kempo, but he was friends with Ed Parker and Remy Priestess and just a lot of people.
Wow.
Yeah, someone was saying, like the tournament is older than like the Super Bowl, right? So like what I mean, so obviously he's been around for years, but also the relationships he's made, it's pretty crazy.
How old is the tournament, Jeremy?
We just had our 60th.
60
years old. We are the oldest American tournament still around today.
Right.
Yes.
There was one, people kept saying about Long Beach Internationals, they're no longer around. There was another one, I forget the gentleman's name, is a Korean gentleman who had a tournament that was neck and neck with ours as far as age was concerned, and he no longer does his tournament. I think he stopped it a few years ago. But yeah, so we're right now the longest American sport martial art tournament.
Right.
Wow.
I know it's supposed to say sport karate, but considering we have all different styles, I just call it sport.
I agree. I say sport martial arts as well too.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic. Who originally started the tournament? I
Tournament
don't
would
know
have
this answer.
it would have been Ken Knutson. Oh no. I know Ernest Leaf started AKA before it was AKA and then AKA. I want to say that Ernest Leaf may have started, but if not, it definitely been Ken Knutson. And the reason why I know that is Sensei Sharkey told me that the day he took over the tournament was the day that Ken Knutson came up to him and said, "You're in charge now. Everyone knows what you're doing. I'll see you later." And that was how Sensei Sharkey took over AKA Grands. That's exact. There was no like, holding his hand in there. He's just like, "This is yours now."
You're in charge now. It's like he just handed him the car keys.
Pretty
Here,
much. Here you go,
pick
son.
up Dad from the
We're taking
airport.
That's
And
funny.
he just took it from there. And like I said, as we know, just build it and build it. I remember when it was out of a small hotel, and now it's like this huge entertainment. It
Yeah,
literally is a
you're
night
right.
show.
It
Things
is.
that people would pay to go see a musical or something.
What was your first AKA Warrior Cup? Grand Nationals, because there would have been that.
That would have been 2003.
2003.
That's when I first started with them. And how I know that, I just got through talking with Mike Chat because I had my boys with me at the same time, and they took a picture with them because they were enthralled with the Blue Power Ranger.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. And so that's how I knew it was 2003 was the first one that I competed in. And it was a very big eye opener for me because that back when we had the 3 ki rule and the 2 ki rule for Japanese, 3 ki rule for Korean. And
Yeah.
I totally didn't know any of those rules.
Yeah, it was a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that was not the WKC,
It was the
WSKF.
Yeah,
WSKL was 2004. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, right after that.
Yeah.
So I thought finally I won a division, only to find out that I wasn't part of that whole seed thing. So I won enough to go against the seeds.
That's right.
Because they had a double elimination. Like those top 4 who were in the regular division and then could go up against the seeds for the actual division
Correct.
points and stuff.
Yeah. I my first one was 2000. I had heard about it and it was planning to go, I think, in 97. And then I think it was weather or something like that where we weren't going to make it. But yeah, 2000, 2001. And then it was a long time after that till I came back. So.
Well, this is some irony. This is the one where I actually have the longest standing one. First time I went was 96.
Right.
And I went, I was like a rookie black belt. I've been a black belt maybe 6 months, right? Hadn't really done competitions as a black belt at that level, right? A lot of locals, and I was wanting to do some, higher level competitions. I've been to other tournaments, but not as a black belt. Because we know it. When you do like the Battle of Atlanta as a brown belt, it ain't the same as a black belt. You can't say, I've done the Battle of Atlanta 3 times. Like, kind of, yeah, but no, you haven't. Right? Right? So it was still kind of like that. So I went, and the reason why they were like, hey, Alex, this might be a good tournament for you to go to. And I'm like, why? It's like, I'm not ready. And they're like, actually, because the Empire State Nationals is the same weekend. So most of those guys are going to be over there. So this is a good opportunity for you to go. And it actually was, because it wasn't so big. So it was still in a gym, but chat was there. And it was cool because when I'm used to bluegrass or New England Open or Diamonds, something like that, for me at that vantage point, everyone's always like up here and really far away. But when you're at that tournament at that level and you're in a gym and he's right here, you're like, how is this real life? Right.
Right.
So this is crazy to me. And yeah, that was kind of cool. So 96, and then it was a number of years before I went back again. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
When was everybody else's? Chime in the chats. When was your first, AKA either Grand Nationals or Warrior Cup?
Yeah, Drew's talking about when it was combined with bluegrass, and he's saying 2009. I don't. So
Yeah, I think it was.
I thought it was earlier than that, but
Well, no, it was combined earlier. I think in 2007 is when
Yeah.
they first combined it. But I
Correct.
think they had 3 years where they were in
Yeah.
Louisville still. Well, Jeremy, maybe I
AKA
should ask you.
Bluegrass. Yeah. Yeah. It was called
Is that what
AKA
it was, Jeremy?
Bluegrass or something like that.
Now, remember, the only time I ever dropped a weapon was when Sensei Sharkey was the center judge for my my division. I was doing the sword, I throw it up, and I knew I was going to catch it. I just watched it drop. He had his little notepad. He just like put it up against, so I doing things like I just bowed, walked down. It was like the only ever time. And he never let me forget it too.
Of course.
That he
Of
never
course.
let me forget when my hair was dyed at one point, and I was first started at his class, and I was sweating so bad the hair dye turned my uniform purple.
That's awesome.
Every year, it never stopped. He said that, yeah, well, at least I don't have purple hair, huh, Jeremy? Like, yeah, okay, got it, sir. Yeah, got it.
Correct. Correct.
Purple hair?
Yeah, it was back in 2003. I was bored, so I decided to dye my hair.
Fun.
I'm still waiting to actually become adult. Until then, I'm still doing stupid shit like that.
I'm trying to picture you with purple hair. I can't see it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
One.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
now that I think about it, I think DDB is right. I think 2008 was the first year it went to Louisville, right? Yeah, because what am I talking about? In 2007, it was still in Chicago because I was there in 2007, right? It was. So it had to be 2008. Yeah, it was 8, 9, and 10 when it was in Louisville. And then in 2011, we were back in Chicago. See, we just had to go through that, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, there's so many great memories, with everything, not just the tournament, but, I remember going to Vienna, Austria, doing the WKA, championships, and Sharkey was a part of that for many years with, Matt Mullins won over there. Craig, the year it was Craig and I that were competing against each other for the world championships. And he was, just a great leader for everyone. Sensei Sharkey was for that whole week. Like I have never been out of country to compete, and he just stood up for me, and many times when maybe I needed some help, because I was pretty much there by myself, and he was that coach for me, even though he wasn't my coach.
Yeah, he was very open with even the competitors of our own students. If they would come off and he's like, hey, you would talk to him, or if they asked for advice, he'd give it to him. He was never one of those guys who would turn anyone away at all.
Of course.
Whatsoever.
Of course. And honestly, my first Super Grands that I went to in '98, he had just really started being a promoter with NBL, and they're always looking for people to do demonstrations during the finals and things like that. And he went above and beyond to get me on that show. He was like, no, you need to be in this show featured because you put on a great performance and you're going to entertain people. And so like he always went out of his way to do that for me in many, many ways. And, I always had one of my biggest, I guess regrets or thing that was tough was one year, there was an issue at his tournament with some other people. It really wasn't Sharky's issue. It was another thing, but it was with the team that I was on, and the team walked out of the finals, and I was supposed to be on that. And, that sucks because I always had a great relationship with him. But, there's one of those things that happen sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that always was something that I always felt bad about, but he knew he didn't take it personally against me.
No, he would understand. It's like, hey, you got to back your people, and
Right.
he would, if he knew you and if he knew your heart, then he'd know that you didn't
Right.
do that out of spite. You did it out of, okay, I have to.
Yes.
I don't want to. I have
Right.
to.
Yeah. This is one of those things that were, yeah. So definitely, yeah. And again, he is a legend, definitely a legend in our sport, but just
One of the things Craig and I were talking about the other day was anytime you ask him advice or something, he never give you an answer. He would actually walk you through to the answer that he already has for you. he would just ask you questions and then get you talking, and then he just knew how to guide you perfectly. It's like, okay, here's the answer, but I'm not gonna. I want you to understand that answer and how you get to it. And he would just do that. He would get you to the answer you wanted without him having to say it directly. And once you came to it, he'd be like, "There you go. See, now you know."
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way. That way you can really see it for yourself
Yeah,
instead of just being told, right?
yeah.
That's
It was
awesome.
it was very, even when we would see some of the students, if they had a bad turn out, a bad fight or a bad form, a lot of us would go quickly to kind of console him, and he would just say, don't, you got to let them take this moment for themselves, let it
Correct.
sink in, let them figure it out, then go over and talk to them and stuff. So it was interesting, those little tidbits of information that you don't think about until you're actually put in the position of being a coach. It's like, okay, no, I'm not gonna sit there and console you yet. You work this out, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, next week we're going to talk more and break down the tournament and all the things that happened. But I do want to, as we're getting close to end, I really thought it was great that, and just kind of crazy how it happened. But Gabrielle Dunn was the very last competitor that competed on the stage, and she did Gopai show in honor of Sensei, and I just thought that was fitting. It was just
That was
amazing, and I couldn't really ask for a better way, to finish on that. So I thought it was awesome.
it was. I was very touched that she did that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
I mean, I think it's fantastic too. But now, as I hear that, I'm like, wait a minute. Was she supposed to?
Well, yeah, she was a member of Team AKA for many years, and she always, gives so much credit to Sensei Sharkey for helping her find her way of how to be a champion in the sport.
No.
So yeah, pretty awesome.
I love even in I will say I got one gripe. There's one, right? And it's superficial, kind of, right? He has created and coached and trained a lot of amazing performers. But his school, those mats, they are gymnastics mats, which when you're doing extreme forms, you freaking love them, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're fighting, you do not love them, right? you bounce here, you do 25 seconds of bouncing, you're like, I'm freaking dead. My legs are zapped. I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah, but what happens when you're fighting out in the tournaments and your legs are stronger? Yeah,
I
okay.
know.
There you go.
My first experience,
hate us now, love us later,
was because there was another gentleman, we've had him on the show, who did the same thing. Joe Greenhaw did that at the New England Open before.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about it. I'm like, oh, I have gymnastics mats before. This is a really cool idea. This is a great idea. But I'd never fought on gymnastics mats before, right? And the same thing. I get out there, you bounce a little bit, and you're like, well, I'm not gonna do that no more. There was a lot of us who we just couldn't move, right? Because we weren't used to it. So yeah, but he's got that too.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Tiffany's saying that her kids bounce on those same mats for 2 hours every Sunday. They're gonna have watermelon calves. This is what they're gonna have.
That's right. That's right.
I bounce kids on those mats every day.
You do what?
I said I bounce kids on those mats every day, teaching them.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Is like when you fall, it's very forgiving,
So Jeremy, what's just to end the show, what is something that you just you want people to know about Sensei Sharkey?
He was, how can I say? He was Sensei. I mean, that's all you can say. He was just that, a teacher. That's what he loved to do. I challenge anyone who can show me another man or woman who is dedicated to the martial arts as much as Sensei Sharkey is.
Right.
He gave his life, literally gave his life there Karate is his wife. The students were his kids, and he was dedicated to them completely, above all else. He had a heart of gold and a mouth of a drunken sailor sometimes. He never, ever let you not know what he thought about you.
Correct.
And I respected that. You know, if he didn't like something you did, he told you. He didn't play around. You know, but he loved you to death. No matter who you were, he loved you to death. And he always wanted to make sure you were taken care of one way or the other.
Of course, always. And the thing is that everybody, even if you aren't his student, you call him sensei. Like that's impactful to me. It's like, you know, it's like sensei over there. You know, we're going to sensei.
Yeah, someone would call sensei, and everyone knew who they were talking to. There'd be 8 other instructors.
Correct. Yes.
It's like how Jeff and I call Conroy coach.
Yeah, it's the same way. Yeah, we call Mike Conroy coach always. So yes, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. Well, guys, you know, again, thank you guys for joining the show. Thank you guys for again, share this. Put, you know, in the comments, put more stories. We're going to be sharing some of the short videos of this podcast throughout the week as well.
Yeah.
And next week we're going to break down, you know, the Warrior Cup, and we're going to have Mason Bumba on. We're also going to, as he is flying to Budapest, back to Budapest, and so next week we'll have him. Also, Martin Ballant will be on as well. Both of them, again, new members of Revolution, but also Martin won the Athens Challenge the same weekend. And then also Dawson Holt is going to be on as well next week. So so we're going to have, you know, a great show again, talking about everything Warrior Cup and martial arts.
That's good.
Yeah, and thanks so much for everyone chiming in to the show. Look at Obeda coming in. He said he loves that several of his students became members of Team AKA, and that Sensei was involved in the journey and development. #respect. Love that. But everybody's trying to chime in with either stories or recognizing or resonating with some of the things that we've been talking about when we're talking about John Sharkey. And so just thanks so much for everybody who's doing that. Again, like Jeff said, share this with everybody else. I mean, please do, guys. Share this on your own pages. All right. Whether you like it on the YouTubes and the book faces and whatnot, because really we want people to still give honor to and mention of Sensei John Sharkey.
Sure. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining us today, bud.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm honored.
Yes, sir. And we'll keep everyone and all the students, the Black Post, everyone in our thoughts and prayers as well during this tough time. Yes, sir.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week, and thank you, Sensei Sharkey.